Wayne Rooney, a legend at Manchester United, no doubts about it, because he played in three Champions League finals, 2008, 2009, I think, and that of 2012, right? Was it 2012, 2011? I think 2011. And he won close to 5 Premier League titles, an FA Cup in there for you, Club World Cup, and so much more in there for you at the club of Manchester United. And he has all the right to speak about Manchester United and how it's supposed to be managed. And when I posted these statements that were put out by Wayne Rooney on X, on the X account of the United Matters channel. By the way, if at all you haven't gone ahead to follow us on X, go on X. You know, there are lots of things that don't come in here, and you can find them that side. So Wayne Rooney said a lot. Now, one of them came and told me that, Rokani, where does he get the authenticity to obviously come out and say anything about the club of Manchester United and coaching, yet he was really relegated? And I was like, then if Wayne Rooney doesn't have a say about Manchester United, then even you, the fans, don't have any say about Manchester United. Why is it that way? Because when you look at the side of Manchester United, Wayne Rooney knows what happens at the club of Manchester United. Nobody at the club of Manchester United knows Wayne Rooney. Sorry, nobody. No fan of Manchester United knows the in and outs of Manchester United like Wayne Rooney. And I think he stands a better ground to come out and obviously say. The reason as to why I've gone ahead to obviously first come out and really rectify that is that he has the audacity, the authenticity to obviously say everything he wants about this guy known as Manchester United and Eric Ten Hag. Now, today the meeting is really going to be held at All in London, and by the end of today, a decision would have gone ahead to be made, either to keep Eric Ten Hag or let him go. Now, Wayne Rooney has come out and said the following, that I think United have gone quite a few years now without knowing or winning the league. So it's important that he don't keep letting that carry on and slide, and then you end up happy with winning the League Cup or FA Cup. He also added and said, United is bigger than that. It's such a huge club, and in my opinion, has to be challenging for the Champions League and the Premier League every year. Now, Wayne Rooney is responding to Eric Ten Hag, coming out and really bragging that he's the first manager to win 2 trophies consecutively in 2 years, you know, after Sir Alex Ferguson. And he's right. And on the other side, I think even Ten Hag is right, because United is a big team, but there is what we call facing reality. We have a very big brand that is bigger than any club in the world. You understand? But when it comes to footballing sense, sporting sense, you get? We are not there yet. We are really down because we fell off the cliff, and every time we try to climb, we climb like 3-4 foot up and go 1,000 steps backwards. You understand? That's the problem with Manchester United, and this is the reason as to why all the people judging Manchester United and the managers, Ineos, Glazers, and so on get it wrong. We fell off the cliff. That's the first thing we have to admit. We fell off the cliff. We are no longer the Manchester United that we used to be. You get? And now, to show you that we fell off the cliff, the managers that have been here, that have gone ahead to win 2 trophies, have come out and bragged about winning trophies. And you saw even Jose Mourinho coming out and say that, for me, my best performance ever in club football was at Manchester United, because I won them the UEFA Europa League and the Carabao Cup. Can you imagine? So, if Wayne Rooney is saying that Ten Hag shouldn't brag about that, he's right, but even Ten Hag is right, because he's really speaking something right. Before he came in here, we had taken 6 years without even winning a Carabao Cup or an FA Cup. And now, if you don't win those small cups, how are you going to come up and obviously compete for the big ones and really set the mentality of those players right? So, Ten Hag is right because he's speaking on the right side of history, you understand? And even Wayne Rooney is right. Obviously, give him what we call a wake-up call, or a pat in the back that, please, stop doing that, because this is Manchester United. So, let's wait and see how that pans out. But that's a sucking hint, the first sucking hint that was dropped by Wayne Rooney. And then Rooney was asked that any advice you'd like to give to Eric Ten Hag. He said, It's not for me to give Erik ten Hag advice. He's the manager of Manchester United and he's a very experienced manager. When you're going through a tough time, the important thing is to hang in there and work hard. Obviously, he said, I'm not going to give him advice. He also did and said, I think they showed a good spirit to get a point against Villa, but the fans probably want to see a little bit more. Obviously, a fan of Manchester United or a fan of any club would love to see his club winning points. That is it. He would love to see his club winning points and the maximum of the 3, not even taking a minimum or really not taking any by getting a loss. So I think if Ten Hag gets sacked today, as I told you, he would have gone ahead obviously sack himself, because he has found himself in a position of putting players on the field of play that don't deserve to be there, putting in substitutions. Like in the game of Aston Villa, you are having a player, Amadi Diallo, on the bench who has been performing very well this season, and you don't bring him on and you get on Anthony. That was really very bad of him. And I tell you, if he gets sacked, he will be the orchestrator of his sacking and he won't blame anyone. I told you, in the game of FC Porto, Ten Hag had all what it takes to change the narrative. You know, we've gone ahead to score 2 goals. You get, why don't we sit back? One will tell me we are defending. Now, if I told you we are defending and playing a low block, why was Marcus Rashford running from almost there, have to come to I have to defend? You know, and couldn't obviously, and even when he reached the play, he was like trotting. You understand? If a team is playing a low block and very organized in the defense, it plays like how we played against Aston Villa. You tell me that we can get a barren draw at Villa Park and we couldn't defend 2 goals. You know, Erik ten Hag was like, we've gone ahead to score 2 goals early. Let's go for another one. That was his problem. And if he had won a game away at FC Porto and drawn at Villa, I think it would have been a different narrative altogether. You get? But he really went ahead to spoil everything of himself, and he will be lucky to stay the manager of Manchester United. You get? So we are waiting to see what decision Ineos is really going to come up with to obviously see whether they keep the man or they let the man really go in peace. You understand? That is Erik ten Hag for you. That's what Ineos are really planning for him. So we wait and see how that pans out. But Rooney has said he cannot really give him any advice about how he's supposed to operate. Then Wayne Rooney again, he said, Man United want to challenge for big titles, so to be 14th, I'm sure everyone at the club knows we have to be doing better. I know Ten Hag is doing everything he can do to try and improve the situation. The players, and I said this last season, have to do better than what they are doing. Obviously, the players have to do better than what they are doing. But one thing that Ten Hag has gone ahead to show is that when you look at our stats, they are really improving. The stats are really improving, but we are having players who cannot really kill off the game. And that is the most important bit of it all. These people can't kill off the game. And in the due course of obviously not killing off the game, that's how we have found ourselves into this. I tell you, if you had gotten 3 points against Crystal Palace because we created chances, United would have going to be having 11 points, right? And the other draw came in through against Aston Villa. Obviously, for that is okay. So a loss to Spurs, I think it was avoidable, but we also to it that things never really went on to go as planned. So that is exactly what is happening in there for you. And I tell you what, it's really Erik ten Hag time, and I tell you, a lot of things are really being thrown in at him. Now, he has been asked on whether Erik ten Hag is the right man. He said that's for the owners to look at. Erik ten Hag is a fantastic manager. He's won trophies everywhere he's been, including Manchester United. So he's going through a difficult time, and I think he would say that himself. But we are hoping he can turn it around, because too often managers lose their jobs and then it's a rebuild with a different manager. And this is why my concern is, you know, now, if United believe that they made the right choice to keep Erik ten Hag in here, why do you sack him in when he has played only 10 games into the season? You get? Because we have played how many games in the Premier League? 7. We are left with 31 games, right? 31 games, those are 93 points. You get? Now, if I'm Ineos, what I do, I sacrifice 3 more games in the Premier League. I give them to Erik ten Hag. I tell him that if you don't win those games, you get 7 out of the possible 9 points, you are gonna get a sack because you're playing Brentford, you're playing West Ham, and you're playing Chelsea. You get? Then you have to win against Fenerbahce, and you have to knock out Leicester City into all from the Carabao Cup. If you don't do that, I'm gonna give you a sack. That is that's what Ineos should do. For me, I think, you know, because he might redeem himself in those 3 games. Because even if you lose those 3 games, you understand, Manchester United will be left with 28 games to go. If you bring in a new manager, 28 games are 84 points. And if the manager comes in through and picks up the rhythm and gets like 70 out of the 84 and drops 14, you add on the already 9 that we have, that means we'll be averaging 80 points. And in history of the Premier League, no team has ever gone ahead to average 80 points and fail to qualify for the Champions League. So redeeming is still there, you get, but it will depend on their decision. So my worry is, you sack Erik ten Hag now, you get in a new manager, it's a rebuild all over, you get. And will you have the patience if you've been with Erik ten Hag? Because for me, I'm counting Erik ten Hag's season under Ineos from the start of this season, you get? Because Omar Berrada and Dan Ashworth, who are the guest or the pivot of this club, haven't been here for 3 months. You understand? So they've just worked with Erik ten Hag for 3 months, and if at all they say they're sacking him, that means you'd have gone to set a precedent that even for the manager that's going to be coming in through, you won't give him time. If he comes in and gets in results like those of Erik ten Hag, that means you will obviously say he should be sacked, and the fans will be calling in for the same thing. So we are waiting to see what's going to be coming in through from the meeting. But when Rooney is telling them that let's not do the same thing we're going to have to be doing. If we are sacrificing this season once and for all, let's sacrifice it. Let's not even go for an interim manager. You get? Let's let Erik ten Hag do his thing, and we get rid of him in the summer. You get? Because it's always better. You've got to hate to see teams talking to managers, confirming them like in March when they are coming to start the next season. If Ten Hag reaches that level and is not performing very well, talk to another manager, get him in, let him do the homework at the club, and then Ten Hag ends his season, whether he wins the Europa League, FA Cup, or what, he goes, and then this manager comes in through to start afresh. You get? Because if he does a pre-season, that will help him really do the needful. I really feel for managers who come in through the middle of the season because they cannot make the transfers they want. They can only work with what is available. You get? And if I'm a manager, I wouldn't like to take a United job at this juncture because things are not really moving on well. Because the new manager bounce will be there, but for how long will it stay? These players will come and play for like 7, 8, 9, 10 games, and they'll obviously take the foot off the pedal, and you will obviously get a sack again. So Ineos have to obviously make a right decision today, and whatever decision they come up with, that's what the club would have gone ahead to actually come up with, the majority decision. Then Rooney also added and said, Ten Hag, he's an experienced manager. I know he's trying extremely hard to get it right. I think the culture of football, the culture of the football club is, we've seen a lot of players who are coming in, a lot of foreign players. I think United's identity was always a good core of British players. I think that might be missing a little bit. So players who can control the dressing room and help the manager out when they are going through a difficult period. So I think that's a big chance if you like from what I've seen over the few years. But we hope Ten Hag can turn it around. He also did and said, I think for everyone who wants Man United to do well, it's been frustrating. United are 14th in the EPL. It's not where they want to be. I think what United have done in the few years, they've changed the managers and they've tried to go with a new manager and try to rebuild. But whatever one they've brought in hasn't quite worked. So when Rooney is talking about the English crop of players, now For the managers that have gone here to be sacked, let me start with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. How many English players did he have? Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Harry Maguire, Luke Shaw. He had Marcus Rashford. He had Mason Greenwood. Those are 5. Which others were there? So he had English players there. That is it. And what did they help him? No. When you talk about Jose Mourinho, he had Smalling. He had Luke Shaw. He had Ashley Young. I think even Wayne Rooney was there. He had Marcus Rashford. English players have always gone ahead to be here, but what have they gone ahead to do? You get? So, I don't really believe in English players. You know, if a player is good, and it's all about the mentality, you know. So, Erik ten Hag is trying his level best to obviously mix up this. And right now, in the starting 11 of Erik ten Hag, how many English players does he have? If Luke Shaw is fit, he starts. You get? Then Marcus Rashford. You get? Who else? Kobe Mainoo. 3 English players in the starting 11 for the club of Manchester United. And I know even Mason Mount might be pushing obviously with the needful. If you're talking about the crop of English players, they are there. Maguire is an English player. Kobe Mainoo is an English player. Luke Shaw is an English player. Mainoo, Rashford, Mason Mount is an English player. We're having close to 6, 7, 8, 10 English players at the club of Manchester United. But what have they gone ahead to do? You get? Every manager has been having them. But their mentality might not be the right one to obviously come up and obviously put in the best way possible. So I call upon for your reactions into the comment section below about when we're dropping a huge Ten Hag sack hint. You know, what do you make about it? And Rokan David is my name. We sign out for now. See you later. This is the first video of the day, and we're really going to be bringing you more and more and more. I'm out.